So today is Monday, September 8th, 2025. We call it order the City of Burlington Board of Finance meeting. And our first item is the agenda. Is there a motion on the agenda?
To adopt the agenda.
Moved by Councilor Barlow. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilor Carpenter. Any discussion on the item before we vote? Being none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Our next item is our public forum for Board of Finance. And it is our practice as the Board of Finance to first go to members of the public in the room and then to go online. And we have a number of people. We usually roughly do 2 minutes or so, but it is the part that is science for us to understand how long our event is. So is anyone here in the room who would like to come to the public forum? Come up to everyone. Christine, you come on up to the main desk here and introduce yourself. It's a little less. Yes, upstairs. So welcome.
I'm Kristen Hughes of the Center, and I have a statement that I'm going to read. So here we still are in September 2025, waiting for money promised over 5 years ago. Operation Phoenix Rise in June 2020 was not just an event, it was a movement. Council meetings stretched until 3 a.m. Hundreds of voices, elders, young people, community members demanded justice. One of the clearest demands, a cultural empowerment center. Mayor Weinberger promised it in resolutions, budget memos, state of the city speeches. With the Racial Justice Alliance, the city created a $1 million racial justice fund that was supposed to see Black cultural empowerment in Burlington. Instead, we got buried in red tape. Every dollar had to clear the city attorney, CAO, Board of Finance, and this council. The biggest roadblock, the mayor's office, stalling, delaying, hiding behind endless feasibility studies. The mayor made promises, council signed off, the Board of Finance signed off, CAO Shad knows it, and still 5 years later, the Kemp Center is waiting. Let's be clear, this isn't a delay, it's a broken promise. Kemp Center is not asking for favors, is demanding what was pledged, what was voted on, what this city declared in the name of racial justice. Black liberation is not optional, it is our collective responsibility. Burlington must make good on its word. Kemp Center must receive the funding it was promised. No more excuses. And racism is still a public health emergency, and it's actually worse than it's ever been.
Great. Also like to do public comment?
Yes, I would. Thank you. My name is Sharon Paris. I'm a resident of Burlington, and I am here in support of the Kemp Center. As someone who has shown up in this community for almost 12 years, being on the ground, times doing the work that folks do not want to do. And I know often in the last couple of years, we've had a lot of debate and challenges, and I'm naming that. I'm not going to pretend as if there's not tension between us. I'm not going to pretend as if I feel misunderstood by you. I'm not going to pretend as if you care about what you said we're bringing from today, but I'm going to be real, and I am a human. And I'm a human that's deeply concerned that there is a lovelessness that exists really deeply in this city, in spite of whatever efforts that we're doing. And as someone who is a small business owner, the Kemp Center was the business that received the fundraising from my Juneteenth annual sales. I do an annual Juneteenth event every year, centering Black folks, not waiting for, that's great, the city wants to celebrate Juneteenth, but what can I as an individual also gift? And you're the recipient of the funding this year. And each year I pick a Black-led organization that is doing work. But I picked y'all, not just because of my respect and love, but I picked y'all because this money has been missing. And this is something that we have brought forth, not just in the last month with emails between Christine and the Board of Finance, but this is actually part of the ongoing, we're on 700 and almost like 50 days-ish of the first time when a group of Black women organized and came forward before the city council on August 14th, 2023. And it wasn't just about former Director Green, it was about the Camp Center. It was about all the gaps and the glitches that seem to continue happening with initiatives that are Black led, with initiatives that are anchored in our diaspora. I'm not making it up. The patterns exist. And what we need is for us to be honest about the patterns. As Bell Hooks said, the only way that we're gonna do true justice is being truthful. I am so willing to be honest about how I've helped, but I also know how I have harmed. I know that I have been passionate, but I know sometimes energy that might be used against me can maybe not align with people. So I'm trying so many different ways to get this community care. Because if we don't do something about the fact that we continue to fail the Black diaspora in this community, you will continue to see the way the community is eating itself. I do believe that we are suffering from a broken heart, one that has been brought on by greed and fear and capitalism and all of these different things. My issue is the most important, no, your issue is the most important. We are broken. I am here as a human, I'm here as a mom, I'm here as a business owner, I'm here as a Black woman, I'm here as an activist, I'm here as someone who I wish that my relationships were better with the city right now, but it's deeply hard when year after year for the last couple of years, the writing, everything is on the wall. There are people in this room that were part of the council that approved this $1 million. Yet correspondents are continuing to ask us to give proof. There are speeches by the prior administration. Y'all know about this money. And as someone who used to oversee $1 million budget at UVM when I worked there, at the end of every fiscal year, you reallocate everything. And there's an explanation for every dollar down to the penny. So I want to know where, for the last 5 years, the receipts on this money, because somehow each year when we close down the budget, no one has spotlighted that almost over $800,000 has not been given over to folks who are simply trying to show up and do the work. I don't care for blame. I'm not trying to make people be the villain in the story. I don't even want to be the villain in the story. I do know that I'm not waiting for people to come save my community. I do know that I'm someone who walks and I'm actually trying to make realistic change for my community. And therefore, a month ago, we brought this up again in letter, in writing, and still there are not clear answers that we should be able to answer. Where is this money? Where is this money? And we're putting it on this is something that likes to happen here. I think we're gonna get tired. I think that we're gonna burn out. We're gonna stop bringing this up. It's intentional that there's just 2 of us here. But trust, we are with a lineage, but it's because how often are we gonna keep making our community come before folks who aren't holding on to the emotion? I'm sorry, if vulnerability is not coming into the way that we're doing stuff, again, our city is suffering. Are we gonna continue to operate in fear? Are we gonna get down to the most basic human principle, which is love? Bell Hooks said it, right? Love is not just a feeling, it's an action, it's a daily choice. I actually have to choose every day, every moment, how I wanna show up in the city that I actually deeply care about. I deeply care about her. I sat in the park today and we need answers, please and thank you.
Anyone else here in the room who would like to address the Board of Finance? We'll go online. If you would like to address the Board of Finance online, we're gonna do the raise hand function. And first up, we see Corinne Sita.
Yes, can you hear me? I'm outside.
Yes.
I'm outside. Okay, that was timed, right? What she just how she spoke, that was timed because I'll be damned if I'm interrupted. Right, Catherine? Timekeeper?
In this meeting, the mayor is the timekeeper.
Okay, she don't like me. She's definitely not about to like what's coming out of my mouth. So I don't have time for vulnerability because I tried that. I tried the sisterhood thing. These are all facts we already know. So we're talking about finance, ching ching. Let's go there. All right. Richard Camp Center wants money. We all do. So get in line. It's not about favorites. She doesn't get to choose favorite Black people. Remember, she didn't acknowledge any Black person on Black History Month. So she doesn't have favorites. I know a lot of people hate the whole "I told you so," but I told the city of Burlington this, but that's okay. Finance, back to the ching ching. So the $10,000 that the city gave to the homeless, because I actually went to Burlington yesterday and I witnessed it with my own eyes. I was like, I'm hearing the chatter. Let me actually see the people get fed in the city park. My God, embarrassing. And she's in Canada while we're embarrassed. So I just can't believe. So the $10,000 went where? And why was my idea of moving them to Big Daddy's, where Big Daddy's used to be? If you're from Burlington, you know what I'm talking about, okay? The Big Daddy Pizzeria. What my idea of moving them there and then having that restaurant, the Instable, they're like milkshake restaurant, moving them somewhere else because they actually want to make money. And yet, what happened to that idea? You just want to be Ellen DeGeneres and give $10,000 to what? Itemize your mother. You know how to itemize things and count all your pennies. Talk about pennies. I was actually speaking to 7 Days. They're a Virgo. I found out they're Virgos because their 30th birthday is close to Beyonce's. So I was paying close attention. And my mama's, which is tomorrow. But anyways, I was talking to them because I was like, I need them to check what I've been checking out when the mayor got elected and it was her election speech, how excited her wife was. And I believe in an excited wife. Okay, I believe in that. But that was a little too much excitement. Then a couple months later, she gets a check. Now I see the excitement. So we got to check on that. I know there's a New York Times investigator who's like, ooh, juicy. I know there's somebody who knows how to write. I went to Champlain College. I know we have some writers that want to start their careers, things like that.
Related to the Board of Finance agenda?
That's ching ching, because they all pay you. So,
You
see how she interrupted me?
For tonight?
See how it's when you're crying and you're a Black woman, you're like, help us, she listens. But when you actually talk money, she has a problem and interrupts. That's ching ching. All of this has money that you took.
You have 1 minute left.
Okay, well, I don't cry, Emma. I just speak facts. So if Fareed can talk and cry and ask for Richard Kemp Center money, which we don't know exactly what they're doing for, but if they want it, somehow they're going to get it, I bet, because they're people of God. Anyways, so I'm just talking about the ching ching, the $10,000, the poor people that you're supposed to feed, the money that people were spending to feed your family. I'm talking about ching ching. Every time I speak to you, it's ching ching. It's never love, because you don't like it.
I'm going to pause one more time. Could you please stop commenting about my family? We don't personalize comments.
This is what's on the news. This is public information on the news. I don't look you up. I definitely don't look you up. I don't look you up. You're not that. I don't look you up. You're a public figure, honey. Welcome to the spotlight. Welcome to the spotlight. Welcome to the spotlight. Shine, honey, shine. This is your time.
So we'll take that at the end of this woman.
I cannot believe y'all voted for her. I'm telling you guys, I warned you.
The end of your public comment. Thank you very much.
I will, yes.
We're going to move on, Corinne. Thank you. Next up, we're going to go to Sharon Busher, former City Councilor Sharon Busher. Welcome.
Hi, good evening. I'm not trying to beat this item, but I had read your agenda and looked at consent item number 3, which has to do with the item that the original 2 people came before you, the Richard Kemp Center funding that was linked to $1 million money that was set aside. I don't recall the details of that, but I was hoping, because we have to speak before you act, I was hoping that there would be some attachment that would speak to the fact that the city would investigate and report back to the Board of Finance what the origin of the request and what has happened to date. I think that's really important. To me, I was hoping that recommended action would appear. So that's number 1. But number 2 has to do with your deliberative agenda, and it's the Overdose Prevention Center. First of all, Mayor and the people in the administration and the council, I think this packet is informative and very helpful and reflects a lot of hard work to date. I was not able to find in the information provided for tonight anything that spoke about, once this center was operational, the process to address any community concerns, either neighborhood or broader community, as to what that process would be and who would be the recipient. And so maybe that's a detail that will come next step, but it was silent for me. I couldn't see any reference to it. And I think one thing that I've learned from the pod experience was that that was great, but I don't think we handled that component of community concern once you're up and running, and how we were going to address it in a timely fashion. So that's my feedback for you tonight. Thank you so much, and good luck with your agenda.
Thank you, Sharon. Is anyone else online who'd like to address the Board of Finance? If you can raise your Zoom hand. Seeing none, I will close public forum and we'll move on now to our consent agenda, number 3. Is there a motion on our consent agenda? Councilor Carpenter?
I have a clarifying question.
Motion first, and then we can do.
Okay, I'll
questions
move
and
the consent
discussion.
agenda.
Thank you. Moved by Councilor Carpenter. Is there a second? Second by Councilor Barlow. Thank you. Discussion.
Relative to the communication from Christine Hughes, does not require any action. I'm just suggesting that you do provide us an update at a future meeting.
Thank you, Councilor Carpenter. We are planning that. In all transparency, we had a technical glitch trying to go communicate with Ms. Hughes, and that's not an excuse, but we didn't realize it until today. So we are planning to do and have it in the works for drafting, and we'll have it at the next Board of Finance around. We'll do a little bit of historical, I'd say, analysis, but we have to backtrack a little bit because it did start 5 years ago, but we have a full update for the Board of Finance on the 29th.
Thank you.
Yep. Any further discussions or questions on the consent agenda? Seeing none, I will call the question. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion carries unanimously. Very much. Moving now on to our deliberative agenda. Item 4.1 is regarding our Burlington Electric Department. And a street light tariff update.
Good afternoon. We have brought this streetlight tariff update forward in order to bill in a way that is cost effective for proposed security cameras that would be owned and operated by the Burlington Police Department. So we received a notification from Chief Burke that the police department had camera funding available. They would like to be able to install these. My understanding is the current tariff would not allow us to bill for those based on what we think of as estimated usage, where we can meter a single camera and then use the usage there to estimate the billing for the other cameras. But the amendments here would allow for that so that we can cost effectively use estimated billing for the cameras. In the course of updating the tariff, we've updated some other language too, such as including the parking ban lights in that as well. And we've met multiple times our policy and planning and engineering teams just to review all of the language. I believe 2016 may be the last time we had updated this tariff, or perhaps we may have had some lighter amendments in the more recent times like 2019, but we want to make sure all the language was up to date and accurate. So this is reflective of current practice all throughout the red line tariff, but the impetus for it was to make sure we could bill cost effectively to the city for these security cameras and not require expensive meter on every single security camera that might be posted. Glad to answer any questions. And I just wanted to note this would typically go to our commission before the Board of Finance and then go to council. Due to the schedule, it's coming here first. We'll have it at commission on Wednesday, and it doesn't come to council until the 29th of this month.
Great. Thank you, Darren. Questions or comments?
Does that slow you down at all?
No, we've let the police department know what the time frame is, and obviously once it goes through the council, it still has to go to the PUC, and there could be additional process there. So we've let them know it'll be a couple of months at minimum until we have this in place.
Are there that many cameras that it's a whole lot of money?
My understanding was it would be very cost inefficient at a minimum based on the cameras that they were looking to deploy. And for us, this is a very
I didn't mean the meter. You're trying to get at how much electricity you use, right?
Oh, right, the cost of the electricity itself is not high at all, which is why adding expensive meters
Right,
for each camera makes no sense
and
whatsoever.
the city can't absorb that in its streetlights or, I don't know.
Well, the challenge for us is we are not allowed, unless it's in our tariff, to bill that way. So if we did nothing and the city wanted to put up the security cameras, the cost of electricity would be relatively minor, but we would be required to have the city pay for a meter at every single installation, which doesn't make sense to us whatsoever.
No.
So,
Okay, I'm, of course, this is the resolution, that this seems.
yeah, it'll give us much better flexibility for this and for the parking ban lights, other uses.
Thank you, Councilor Carpenter. Any other discussion or questions? Is there a motion? Or Councilor Barlow, what would you like to say?
I would like to move to approve and recommend that the city council authorize the general manager of the Burlington Electric Department further designate to file updated street lighting tariff with the Vermont Public Utility Commission and to take such actions as may be needed to secure its.
Thank you, Councilor Barlow. Is there a second? Seconded by Councilor Carpenter. Any further discussion before we vote? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, nay? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Darren. On to our next deliberative item, item 4.2, which is regarding our Overdose Prevention Center pilot. And Teresa Lucina from the mayor's office, my office. Teresa's first visit to the Board of Finance, so welcome.
So. First, I want to say thank you for the support of the Overdose Prevention Center proposal and compliance plan, which came before the City Council in April on the 28th. And so that plan laid out the way that the city and our selected provider, BCJR, would be able to meet the requirements of Act 178 and also the Vermont Health Department's Overdose Prevention Center guidelines. That plan was unanimously approved. We then moved on to submit that to the Health Department on April 29th. They then approved the proposal on May 5th. From May 5th until very recently, actually it was August 22nd, we were working on meeting the requirements. We actually had a little bit of a snafu with the state requirements for the insurance. But we were able to overcome that, get that all straightened out. It maybe set us back about 3.5 weeks, but it was fairly quickly resolved. We then worked on looked at the draft agreement on August 22nd with City Attorney's Office and DFA, and we received the final draft of the grant agreement on September 5th. So we are here, September 5th. That's all the right date. And so we have begun working on the sub-recipient agreements. The total contract is for $2.2 million, and that represents allocations from the legislature from state fiscal year 25 in the amount of $1.1 million, and also state fiscal year 26, which was an additional $1.1 million. We actually advocated very hard for that second year of funding and the last session, knowing that this project would take a bit to stand up, then we'd also hopefully be needing some money for operating. So the proposal that you all are looking at, I just wanted to be really clear that it focuses on phase one. And phase one in the project proposal was planning and capacity building. Phase two is the operational component of the OPC. Under the state contract, it requires the city to submit for the first 12-month budget, which will equate to the phase one. We also have to submit a detailed work plan and timeline for that same period of time. How will everything connect together, and also overlay with the compliance plan that we submitted back in April. So today we are requesting that we have authorization to accept the grant from the state for the city.
We then will be able to move on to accessing the funds, which means we can award to BCJR so they can also begin their work in their own planning and capacity building. We did begin work with Pyre, who is the external evaluator who is doing the service assessment and neighborhood assessment for the city and BCJR. So we began work with them in July under a small vendor agreement through the mayor's office, and worked with city attorney's office on working through that contract. The state has guaranteed that our contract will actually be retro dated to July 1st. So any expenses that the city or BCJR has incurred from July 1st to the time of execution will be covered through the grant. They did also submit a report to the legislature on August, I think 22nd. Was it just a couple of days before we got the draft, letting the legislature know that that was what was going on with the city's contract with the state. And I guess I just also want to just clarify too that the way this grant works is a little different than other state grants. Most grants are done on a reimbursement model. This grant in particular is done on a prospective model. So it allows the city to prospectively invoice by quarter. So our first invoice will go out as soon as the contract is executed for $275,000. At the end of each quarter, both the city and VCGR have to submit a reconciliation report along with quarterly progress reports to DSU at the health department. Additional funds cannot be dispersed to BCGR until we have that and everything is reconciled and we see where we are in the process. Regular meetings, of course, will be happening. I've worked closely with DFA, with Brad and Nicole at DFA to work through the processes we will go through for the budget and reconciliation process and invoicing process. The contract requires the mayor to designate a person to sort of hold project management. So the mayor has, I'll be the interim project manager for now, since we're still so early in implementation of the project. So I think I'm gonna pause there and see if there are any questions.
That's great overview, so thank you. Questions or comments from the board? Tied, so I'm gonna go with Councilor Carpenter.
Okay. There's a ton of questions, but and I know we'll have a chance to talk upstairs, but the presumption is you set the center up, get it going, and then the ongoing operation will be some level of state funding, am I right?
So there is an intent, and the intent is to utilize the opioid settlement funds through fiscal year 28 for the length of the pilot.
Okay. And after 28?
Well, part of the plan that we had to submit was also talked about sustainability. And so that we'll be working through that as things unfold. I think right now we're really have to focus on the planning and capacity building in order to get to that operational state. There's a really strong evaluation component to the project. And when we look at how to get other funds from, whether it's foundation funds, whether it's additional state funds or opioid settlement dollars, because we're going to be collecting pretty amazing baseline data that and ongoing evaluation, we will have the ability to show the impact of the project and of the center itself. And hopefully if it, all comes out the way we all think it is going to be part of the solution to many, many things, that there will be funders who will want to continue to support this work. And so that's the hope, but it would not be city dollars, and that is also pretty clearly outlined.
And I appreciate that. That should be clearly out. I'm just trying to get past 28 and how long are the opioid settlement funds available for? And there's a lot of funds, I know, more than one.
15 years.
Okay.
Left.
Okay.
Past the 3 that were already.
And just to add, there's state level and then there's local city of Burlington.
Yes.
Settlement funds just for everyone's purpose and understanding, and that was good foresight. oversight, from prior administrations. City. Additional questions, Council Barlow?
Thank you. I'm in full disclosure, I remain sort of skeptical on the LPC, and I have more further comments upstairs tonight. I will be supporting this, this initial grant request, and I do have some questions about the risk to the city should it not, should we not move forward, so we get partway through the evaluation and then for whatever reason we can't move forward. Will there be, we'll invoice for whatever we spent to that in time, and then there wouldn't be any payback obligations on the part of the city for things. I'm just trying to understand sort of the financial risk of this prospective grant. People.
That feels like a thing that maybe the city attorney's office would understand better than me, or DFA. When it came to like the contract language around like reimbursement of funds, or like, that is, I'll be honest, above what my sort of role is within this project. Definitely more the project management on the ground, programmatic stuff. So I don't know, Jessica, if you could help with that, or Catherine or somebody.
So I can speak to, this question was raised with me through a very specific lens, that being, what if the federal administration stops us, right? So in that circumstance, and full transparency, this would be, this is a project that Eric Ramakrishnan is supporting, so he is more familiar with the specific language in the agreement than I am, but from my discussions with Eric, it's our position that should the city be using the money for what it has been given to us to use it for, and then, for example, the federal administration stop us from moving forward with the OPC, we wouldn't be liable for the money we had spent, assuming we had spent it for the purpose of establishing the OPC that it was given to us for. We would likely have to give back the balance, right, of unspent money, but we wouldn't be liable for money we had spent as long as we had spent it in compliance with the contract. I'm more hesitant to speak to other reasons that, you know, if it's our own negligence or somehow our own fault that we can't go forward. I think that's a different conversation.
What if we couldn't find a suitable location that had the community buy support? So and particular neighborhood or location in the city.
I would feel more confident answering that question after talking more with Eric about it. So I'm not answer that tonight.
I'm also mindful of what time it is. We have an executive session tonight with folks before we meet upstairs, downstairs at 6 o'clock, and then we'll have more conversation upstairs as well.
And I can, sorry to interrupt, but and since there will be more discussion upstairs, I'm happy to reach out to Attorney Ramakrishnan in between to try to be able to give you some more insight into that question. Yeah.
I was just gonna say that would be helpful, and my understanding is that these are funds that were allocated by the legislature and by the overdose, the settlement money, right? So my presumption is they get to tell us back again, you know, when they get to get it back.
Correct. I see Councilor Newbeezer online. Maybe you're just trying to get promoted, but do you have once you're on the panel, Councilor Newbeezer, first, can you hear us? And second, do you have any questions, Councilor Newbeezer?
No, just get on the panel. Thank you.
All right, well, welcome. Further questions or comments from the board on this item? Sir Charles.
Yeah, just briefly, I do think it will be good when we get upstairs to have further discussion around some of the questions being raised by my colleagues here. There are still a lot of unknowns with this project, and any number of reasons for which, including some that are outside of our control, that we may have to pump the brakes at some point in time. And I think it will be good as we accept these grant monies for the council to have a full understanding of, in the event that were to happen,
whether by the federal administration's hand or whether by the city's own hand, to pause the progress on this, what the potential risks may be for the city financially vis-a-vis the grant. With that in mind, I'd like to just take an opportunity to thank Teresa for all the work that she and the mayor's team have put into this effort. I'm glad that we've reached yet another milestone in this project. I intend on supporting it tonight as well as here as well as later tonight. I'm grateful for the updated motion language that Teresa worked with Attorney Ramakrishnan on, which really doesn't substantively change the item, but does capture the reality that I think is important for the public to know, which is that while we're accepting a sizable grant from the state here, which a lot of gratitude to the state and our partners there for working through it, there are still a number of milestones that we have to work our way through here. I think many members of the public are concerned about, for example, where the location of an overdose prevention center will be. I think a number of members of the public are concerned around what a potential security plan would be for an overdose prevention center and the surrounding neighborhoods. And I know that these are items that will be addressed both through zoning as well as through our having to review any sub-recipient agreement with the partners who will be hopefully operating this center one day. And just appreciation again for the work that's gotten us to today, as well as the openness to some motion language that reflects the reality that there are some additional milestones for the council to consider here. So thank you, Teresa.
Thank you, President Travers. Could I just say one thing? I wanted to just respond to Sharon Busher's question in the public forum about the process that might come up regarding community concerns after operations. And I just wanted to reassure that through the neighborhood assessment and service assessment component, we've taken that even further beyond what was actually required, and we'll be doing ongoing neighborhood assessment work, 6 months, 1 year, year and a half, like all throughout the whole time of the process, which will include revisiting communities, neighborhoods, concerns, and we also plan to create through the planning and procedures process, because there's like pages and pages of policies and procedures, but also creating a system for community members to be able to let us know and then be able to strategize with our community on ways that we can address things and not just let it go too long. So I just wanted to answer that. Thank you.
With that, is there a motion on this item? Councilor Travers.
Yes, I would move to approve and recommend that the city council authorize, this is a two-part motion, but I think it's important to get it on the record here, that A1, the mayor to execute the grant agreement with the Vermont Department of Health for the Overdose Prevention Center, subject to review and approval of the city attorney. 2, the chief administrative officer to make all such amendments to the approved budget as may be necessary or convenient to accept and expend the grant funds. And 3, subject to part B of this motion, the mayor or chief administrative officer and each of them to take all such further actions and to execute all such further instruments approved as to form by the city attorney's office as may be necessary or convenient to implement the transactions contemplated hereby. And B, that the foregoing approvals are conditioned on the city council's understanding that 1, the city council retains all land use and zoning authority over the Overdose Prevention Center as provided in state statute, the city charter, and the comprehensive development ordinance. And 2, any subrecipient agreement shall be subject to city council.
Councilor Travers. Is there a second on that motion? Seconded by Councilor Carpenter. Thank you. Any further discussion before we vote? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. Teresa, thank you.
Thank you.
So our next item is an item for executive session for the Board of Finance. Item 5.1, a discussion of the tentative agreement relating to our collective bargaining agreement between the City of Burlington and the FFA Local 3044. It's a contract that runs from July 1st, 2025 and June 30th. This is an executive session and we don't have any other deliberative items on our agenda. Our intention is to adjourn immediately upon exiting executive session. Did I say that correctly? Yes. Oh, okay, awesome. Okay, and so we're going to be joined by Chief Curtin And our BFF, yes, Josh, our the president of BFF. Commissioner Sackle, our hired attorney. So at this point, we're not a member of the Board of Finance, or those votes.